Hey, New York. It's time for New York sports talk the way it ought to be. It's the Big Apple Sports Podcast, starring Peter Weintraub and Evan Freeman.
Welcome, everybody, to the Big Apple Sports Podcast. I'm Evan Freeman.
I'm Pete Weintraub, a.k.a. Big, Bald, and Proud. Not Mama.
Not Mama. All right, Pete, what do we have up first? I believe we do have Jets talk on the docket.
Yeah, so we talked about it yesterday. Of course, the second I upload it to YouTube, it turns out that Jeremy Kerley was signed by the Jets. So I guess all signs indicate that he's healthy, ready to go here in the 2017-18 campaign. So, Evan, we talked about it yesterday, but this is a guy who's been a Jet for a long time. He was not on the Jets last year, obviously, but he's been there for the bulk of his career. He's another veteran wide receiver. Is he the best wide receiver in the league? No, but he's a significant upgrade over what they have at present. And adding another veteran into the mix with Jermaine Kearse to head the receiving corps, I think it's a good move.
Oh, wait, it definitely improves the team. But before anyone starts getting really excited, Jeremy Kerley is about 5'7" in cleats. There's a reason why the Jets cut him to begin with before he went to the 49ers. So this isn't this big splash signing. He's definitely the second best. Right now, he's the second best receiver on the team because we haven't seen anything new from Robbie Anderson other than what we saw last year. So hopefully Robbie Anderson, he's the guy I'm looking at. He's a deep threat. He's kind of tall. I'm the guy. I think he needs to be the one that takes the next step forward. But it's a good signing. It improves the receiving core. Like we said yesterday, it's important because at some point, Bryce Petty is going to take over, unless Bryce Petty's hurt, which will probably happen because Bryce Petty is always hurt.
I don't know how it happens because he never plays. But
made of glass. Either Petty or Hackenberg will be running this team very, very shortly. Yeah. So we need guys that can go out, run routes, catch the ball, and help these guys learn the game of football because that's what they need to do. Hackenberg and Petty need to learn the game of football. It's that simple.
Yes. Right, absolutely. And I think, like you said and like I mentioned earlier, I think that having another veteran at least will help in the development of a Robbie Anderson and some of the younger guys who are in the mix. So that way they don't have too much pressure on them too early. I mean, there won't be any pressure after week 3, but still. Anyway, heading over across the locker rooms to the New York Giants, Odell Beckham Jr. today, jogging at practice with heavy tape on his ankle, but he's
without heavy tape.
Oh, without heavy tape. Excuse me, I misread that. But still not practicing. All right, so it's Wednesday. We're 4 days out from game day. Evan, what are your thoughts on this?
Listen, all I hear on the radio is Odell's going to play. He's probably going to play. He should play. No, he shouldn't play. If we're 4 days out and he still hasn't practiced, there's no way he should be playing. Listen, It's good news that he's jogging without heavy tape on, but let's say he feels 85%. He's not feeling 110% by Sunday. No. And usually once you feel better, you usually need a few more days to really be completely healed. It's not, I feel really good, I'm 100%. Usually that's about 85, 90%. And all it takes is that one little hit or that one cut where his foot gets stuck in the ground, and he could be out for weeks, and that will ruin the Giants' season. If they're missing Odell Beckham Jr. for 6 to 7 weeks because he breaks his ankle, I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth the risk. I understand it's a big divisional game. You're playing the Cowboys, who, and we'll talk about this in a second, Ezekiel Elliott will play week 1, though the suspension will be upheld. The NFL's filing suit. That's going to be a whole bunch of fun. But getting back to the Giants for a second, we talked about it ad nauseum the last couple of days, and we're going to continue to deliver it. And I hope that the Giants aren't stupid and play him because – they can not only have him miss a significant amount of time, which will hinder their progress and their chances this year, but they could hurt a guy who by far is one of the best talents this organization's ever seen. So they want to sign him long-term. They may not be a long-term depending on the severity of him hurting himself. So I'm with you. If he's not feeling 85, 90% like you said, if he's not at least practicing, running lightly on the field, light routes, not just jogging, we're going to have some issues come Sunday. So I hope they don't start him. I hope they give him the rest he needs. Hopefully he'll be back by week 2, but you can't chance it. So going now to what we just mentioned, Ezekiel Elliott. So shortly after we recorded yesterday, fucking yay, the NFL did uphold its 6-game suspension. So it's a good thing, in my opinion, Evan. I know that we both thought that he should have gotten more games. But it's a good thing they didn't go back like they often do and give him, instead of 6, take 4 or something like that. He is actually eligible to play Sunday, and it's a temporary stay is what they're calling it, because the NFLPA, the Players Association, has to file a lawsuit. So, Evan, explain what's going on here and then your reaction to it.
Okay, so this actually happened last week. The NFL Players Association filed a motion to get a temporary restraining order. So that means if the temporary restraining order is granted, it freezes the suspension. Well, it gives Elliott and the NFLPA time to file a lawsuit to get the suspension overturned permanently. Mm-hmm. Now, this doesn't mean that the suspension will get, put on hold. It's put on hold for at least this week.
Yeah.
So the temporary restraining order, he's guaranteed to play this week. But if the temporary restraining order is upheld and they're able to file the lawsuit, his suspension will be suspended. Will not be able to be enforced until that process is completed. So let's say it's week 4 and then the suspension is upheld again. He would then miss weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the NFL season. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the dumbest things that they can do.
Yeah.
Because these lawsuits are so stupid. Your collective bargain agreement states that Roger Goodell has the power to suspend people. Mm-hmm. And then that all appeals go back to Roger Goodell. So it didn't go back to Goodell. It went to an independent arbitrator who then upheld the suspension.
Yeah.
So if this thing goes 2-3 weeks, now he's going to be missing 6 games more towards the middle of the season as opposed to just missing the 6 games and getting it over with.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. If I'm him, and even if obviously the Players Association is supposed to be in the player's best interest, but this isn't in the player's best interest. Yes, he may play week 1, and like you said, he can play weeks 2, 3, 4. We don't know when this is finally going to get upheld. But the problem is, let's say he plays the first 10 weeks. Let's say somehow they're able to draw that out. Then he misses the last 6. The Cowboys are in the midst of a division battle. Elliott's having a great year. He's once again the cog to their offense. Then all of a sudden there's a lot of undue pressure on Dak Prescott. He's only a second-year quarterback, guy who didn't throw a lot last year. And there's a lot of pressure on him to take that Cowboy team to the playoffs. It's not good for the team. Obviously, it's not good for him, but it's not good for the team. He's going to serve it no matter what. So if I'm him, I just take it now. I'm back for the last 10 games. I'm back for the stretch run. I'm fresh for the stretch run, and I'm ready to go. It's almost like Tom Brady last year.
I was about to say, it's exactly what happened with Tom Brady. Listen, this is, like I just said, it's collectively bargained. So What are you fighting? You have granted this power to Roger Goodell. That's your problem. No one else really gives a shit. Yeah. And we have to take up time. First of all, this has to go to federal court. So we are now wasting the court's time to hear a labor argument for something that was collectively bargained. Yeah. It's just stupid. It's a complete waste of time. Serve your suspension, come back. Brady did it he took the whole thing to court. But that was during the offseason. Mm-hmm. Listen, once the season starts, he's going to be a distraction now. All this is going to be, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Ezekiel, you worry about the suspension, worry about this. Let him he should serve his suspension, come back, and play. That's it.
Yeah. I'm with you. It does his team a huge disservice. He's going to serve it anyway. It doesn't matter. It's in the collective bargaining agreement. They're not going to win in court. There's no point in doing this. If you don't like it, next time you negotiate the collective bargaining agreement, maybe change how that's handled. But for now, you're fucked. You're serving 6 games. An independent arbitrator upheld Goodell's ruling and thought it was also a good idea. Therefore, you're a moron. You got caught. Serve your suspension like a man. Get it over with and help your team the last 10 games. It doesn't make any sense. But
Stupid people.
Yes, very stupid people. Moving on to, not people who are much smarter, the New York Mets. So we're going to talk about Matt Harvey today. There's a lot of we can touch on it really, really quickly. Matt Harvey, there's a lot of speculation that he's being mishandled. He had a shitty game in Houston after 11 1/3 innings in his rehab starts leading back to that game in Houston where he gave up 7 earned runs in 2 innings. And he's starting on 3 days rest here tonight. And a lot of people think that he's being mishandled and that this means that his days in New York are numbered. Listen, his days have been numbered for a while. Ever since last season, his days have been numbered. And then the bullshit he pulled earlier this year before he got hurt, not showing up to a game, the Mets having to send people to his home, him refusing to come.
That was
because Julian Edelman fucked his ex-girlfriend. Like, okay, sorry, man.
God.
You have professional responsibilities as a player. And it's upsetting that, yes, you suffered with debilitating injuries the last couple of years, but the Mets probably are. They can't pay all these big pitchers. Fortunately, most of them have gotten hurt. The guy is the only one left standing. Syndergaard, I'm sure he's going to be given the benefit of the doubt. But they're definitely not going to keep Matz. Matz can't stay on the field. He can't show that he's even going to be consistent. Harvey has been incredibly inconsistent after the 2015 season. Those two guys are out. So it makes all the sense in the world. I don't think they're mishandling him. I don't really understand why they're even pitching him in the first place, probably just to sell some tickets.
Yeah,
But
season's over. Why on earth are you starting a guy on short rest who's been injured for half the season?
Well, it's the same thing with David Wright. And I actually wrote an article on 12up.com about this earlier today about why is he going through a rehab assignment in late August when the season's over? He's not going to come back till September if he actually got through the rehab assignment, which he underwent rotator cuff surgery yesterday, so he didn't. There's no point, guys. They're just trying to fill the seats. It's almost as ridiculous as calling up Tim Tebow to the majors just to get people in the stands.
If they call up Tim Tebow, I'm done. I'm going to burn all my Mets shit.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous. He has not earned that privilege yet, but yeah. Anyway, all right. So the main thing I want to touch on with the Mets is not that. It's payroll. So an article,
dollar bills, yo.
So a report came out earlier today from the New York Post. I sent it to Evan at 7 this morning while I was taking a shit. And basically –
I never got it.
You never got it? Well, basically what it stated – well, it was kind of like an interview with Sandy Alderson and an assessment of next year's payroll. They're talking about David Wright as well and how if he does what Michael Kadire did a couple of years back and gave his salary back – then instead of having $65 million in payroll capital to use towards next year's roster, they then have $85 million to use towards next year's roster. But Sandy Alderson pointed out they may not even use what they have, what they get back in savings, because this year, 2017, which is obviously one of the worst years they've had in a while, they had a $155 million payroll, the 12th highest in baseball, which for a New York team, especially the Mets, a couple of years removed from the World Series and just one season removed from making a wild card, it's ridiculous that they weren't even planning on spending that much. But the fact that Alderson stated he's going to pull back potentially the reins and not even spend that much next year. Evan, what are your thoughts on that?
It makes me mad as a Mets fan because, listen, they went to the World Series and for some reason, I knew that they were going to crap out after that. Listen, we made all this extra money going to the World Series. Now let's save some money.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small market mindset. It's a non-competitive mindset. You have people going out there all the time. And this guy at my gym that works there, he said there were 6 people in his section yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
6. So people aren't going to the games. If you're not going to spend money on this team and put a competitive team out there, because there are improvements that need to be made. If you're not going to go out there and spend the money to improve this team, people aren't going to go. So not only you're not going to save money because you're not going to make as much money. They need to be out there. You're a New York sports team. You need to be out there. Spend the money. Spend it the right way.
Yes.
I'm not talking about signing Bobby Bonilla for 21 years. All right.
Which they did.
Go out, find some guys who can play, spend the money. Oh, yeah, we got $80 million. We're just going to spend like 50 of that and, save the rest. Like, why? Because they're not trying to be competitive. They're looking at it about saving money. And know what that's going to do to the team? It's going to put them in the bottom of the division next year.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone else is going to improve. The Mets are going to stay the same. Like you said, probably getting rid of Harvey, probably getting rid of Matz. And they're going to be worse.
Yeah.
And it's only going to go downhill. So you're going to go from going to the World Series a few years ago to being the bottom of the division.
Mm-hmm.
And there might not be a way out of that because all these pitchers are getting older. DeGrom's not young. DeGrom's our age.
Yeah, DeGrom is almost 30.
Yeah. DeGrom's in his late 20s. Syndergaard's really the only one that's still young.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, man, I feel like they wasted this pitching staff.
They did.
100% wasted the amount of talent that they had on this pitching staff. You might as well have not had it. You might as well have traded everybody away last year or two years ago.
Look at the rotation right now. DeGrom's the only one left standing. Syndergaard may come back towards the end of the year, but they're saying that if he does come back, you just started his rehab assignment over this past weekend. It'll probably be in a relief role. I don't think he's starting any games the rest of the year. Harvey obviously pitching on short rest today, but we've seen his velocity's down, movement's down, location is gone, and he's getting shelled. Matt's had a terrible year. Now, granted, I think he pitched a month with his injury before he actually, A, told them about it, and B, got it taken care of, which the reason why it took that long to diagnose him and get this shit over with, I don't understand. And Zach Wheeler, we forgot to mention him. A guy who started the season, started off pretty strong, but then he faded, got hurt. He's done now. So we have guys like Chris Flexen, a guy who came up from Double-A, pitching in the starting rotation. Rafael Montero with an over 5 ERA. He's pitched a little better lately, but come on.
We need Mark Cuban to buy the Mets from the Wilpons.
Wasn't he interested at one point in time?
He was, but the Wilpons will never sell because they're a bunch of assholes. They look at it as
it's a pride thing.
Yeah, and it's just so ridiculous. You don't have the money to run the team.
Yeah.
You can't run the team successfully. It makes you into a joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before the Madoff shit, when Omar Minaya was at the helm, they went out, they got Carlos Beltran. They got Pedro Martinez. They got Carlos Delgado. They got guys who were very good and who immediately elevated the team right before they got Beltran in 05. But in 06, when they really got a lot of those pieces, it just clicked. They went from an 83-win team to, a 98-win team. So they improved by 15 wins by just getting a few players. And with $65 million, even though players today are significantly more overpaid than they were then, you could still get a couple of the key pieces you need, whether that's a Manny Machado in a trade and you throw the Orioles some of that money, or it's Mike Moustakas in free agency. You sign a catcher. Maybe you get an outfielder like Lorenzo Cain. Like, it's not going to take all that much, but unfortunately, they're squandering it. And the fact that Alderson's already saying that, now we don't know if Alderson's even going to be back. His contract is up after this season. But regardless of who's at the helm in the front office, it sounds like the Wilpons have no interest in spending all the money they're getting back in payroll next year. So we had $155 million this year. It might be $135 next year. We have no idea what it's going to be, but it's not looking promising for them. So moving on to the Yankees. So last night they lost, I believe it was 7-6, a nail-biter to the Orioles. Unfortunately, the Yankees lost on a walk-off home run. Manny Machado off of Dylan Betances. Obviously, since Chapman has struggled a lot since the All-Star break, it's now been kind of a closer by committee. Chapman some nights, Betances others, Robertson others. So Betances, unfortunately, couldn't get the job done. And look, Betances has never shown he was a good closer. He's a great setup man, but for whatever the reason, the second he goes from the 8th to the 9th inning and he becomes the man, he doesn't do well. So, Evan, what are your thoughts? Do you think Yankees fans need to be worried because this is yet another one-run game that they ended up losing?
Yeah, I'd be worried. Listen, I wouldn't be, running down the street in my underwear, throwing shit in the air.
Well, that's Corey on a Saturday night.
Yeah, smearing feces on my neighbor's car. I'll save that for Friday.
Yes.
But, this is something to be worried about because this is what's been going on for the last month and a half of the season is losing these one-run games. And they had the lead. They had the lead going into the last inning. Yeah. So this combined with just their shit luck of Boston stealing their signs using an Apple Watch.
That was funny.
which we got to touch on it next.
Yeah.
But, it's symptomatic of what has been wrong with this team all season. Yeah. And maybe not all season, but at least more high.
Since the All-Star break.
It's been more highlighted in the last month and a half, and it's definitely been a problem since the All-Star break because you don't have guys like Aaron Judge just knocking the cover off the ball. Yeah. When you have a guy like Aaron Judge hitting the way he was hitting, it hides your flaws because if you're up 6 runs, you're not going. It's most likely.
And the bullpen gives up 4 runs, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's something that I would be worried about going forward, and especially, I still think they will make the playoffs because I don't think even this series will decide it because there's still plenty of time left in the season for them to bounce back. But look, if they make it into the playoffs, that one game playoff game is going to be a nail biter for Yankees fans. If they get past that, I don't think they get past the ALDS if they don't fix this issue.
Yeah, and it's a couple of things. You highlighted the offense, and you're right. When you have a hitter like Aaron Judge, and when you're one of the best hitting teams in all of baseball, yeah, you can really overcome your pitching. And this is so reminiscent, Evan. I mean, this isn't the same type of team. This is a mostly homegrown team, very fun to watch. I got a couple of pieces like Didi Gregorius, Starlin Castro here or there, but for the most part, it's homegrown talent that's really carrying the load. But this is reminiscent of the 2000s. The Yankees made the playoffs every year. They had shitty pitching, but they had an amazing offensive lineup, and they'd win 90 to 100 games during the regular season, blowing people out 10-3 or 10-5. But then those 5 runs in the playoffs matter because you're not going to be scoring 10 runs on most playoff teams. You might get 10 runs in one game in one series, but that's not going to be a common trend in the playoffs. Unfortunately, and I said this at the beginning of the season, the Yankees don't have great pitching. They have 3 decent starts to top the rotation. Severino's having a great year, though he got roughed up thanks to the Red Sox stealing signs at the Apple Watch. Masahiro Tanaka has really redeemed himself from a miserable start the first couple months, and Sisu Sabathia proving that manorexia is not for everyone. But outside of that, they don't have Sonny Gray is in there, but Sonny Gray is pitching to bad luck. They don't have a great rotation. Their bullpen has been great for most of the season, but I believe they were overused in the first half. It's showing with Chapman. Betances is not a closer. You can't put him out there. I might just give the job to Robertson and then let Betances and Chapman battle it out in the 7th and 8th innings. But
that's definitely a better idea than what they're doing now, because Robertson was their closer for a short period of time,
and he was great. He wasn't Mariano, but he was just a step below that.
There's only one Mariano. Like, come on.
Yeah, he was just a step below that, and he's not really fallen off since he left New York to go to Detroit. But now that they have him back, fucking use him. The Tigers sucked this year. He wasn't overloaded like Betances and Chapman have been. Put Robertson in the closer spot. Let Betances and Chapman hold on to the game in the 7th and the 8th inning, and let's be done with it. But I don't know if they're going to do that. Girardi seems to be convinced that Chapman may get his stuff back together, so we'll see. But for now, it's a closer by committee, and unfortunately last night was another indication that that's not going to happen. So, Evan.
The Apple Watch.
Yes,
Apple Watch gate.
You wanted to touch on the Apple Watch gate. So
oh my God.
For anyone living under a rock, explain to them what happened, and then I'd like to hear your thoughts on it because it's interesting. It's an interesting thing to talk about.
Apparently, the Red Sox had a cameraman steal signs and then relay the sign information to the dugout.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was relayed from the dugout to 2 players. I forgot who it was, Dustin Pedroia and somebody else, who then relayed it to the batters. Now, there's 2 schools of thought on this. Okay. Stealing signs is a part of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. You try to steal signs playing in the schoolyard, you're trying to figure out what the hell's coming next.
Right.
But my feeling is that I don't want to sound like some 55-year-old guy who, won't accept change. But I feel like once you start using cameras and technology to steal signs, it feels like cheating. Like if I go sit in the stands at, another team's practice and they see I'm there and they just keep working on what they're working, that doesn't feel that bad. If I send my grandmother, well, it'd be weird because she's been dead for a few years. But if I send someone else's grandmother with a video camera to videotape it and then she gives it to me, that kind of feels like cheating.
Yeah.
So I feel like once you're purposely being deceptive and using technology to cheat, then it's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a whole premise of Spygate, basically, when the Patriots had to deal with that, where they were recording the Jets and other teams' practices so they could understand the formations and they knew what was coming at Brady or what was coming at them on offense. It's the same thing in baseball. Listen, it's one thing if you're on second base, you can see the catcher's signs, you're picking up on some stuff, and you're flipping your shoulder to say, oh, a fastball's coming, or doing something else for a curveball, whatever. But it's quite another when they know exactly what's coming. The Blue Jays have been accused of this for years. They all of a sudden became one of the biggest home run hitting teams. And there's speculation. There's a guy in the stands with binoculars who was literally relaying what was coming by getting the reflection of the glass and the binoculars down to the field so that the batters can see it. I think that's a whole other level of cheating. That's unacceptable. And I hope that the Red Sox are punished in some way for doing it. listen, it's the same thing in football. It's one thing if you're a linebacker and you're reading the offense and you're like, all right, I know it's coming. We've watched film on these guys. I played against these guys. I know these guys' tendencies. I know the run's coming. Or I know this guy's going to run a flag pattern. Whatever. That's one thing. But when you know exactly what's coming because someone's getting that up, then, yeah, it's not good. So yes, I'm with you.
You should travel over there and spank them. Aha!
All right, so last thing with the NHL. So it looks like the Rangers have hired former players Brian Leetch and Brad Richards as advisors. So, Evan, what are your thoughts on that?
All right, so this was announced late yesterday, but it was really I needed some time to kind of think about this. Brian Leetch, everyone knows Brian Leetch, the greatest American-born defenseman of all time from the 94 Rangers team. Brad Richards also played on the Rangers. He went to the Cup Finals with them in 2014. These are two guys who are known as smart players who played a long time in the NHL. And I like these hires. They're going to help with prospect development and on-ice development for the Rangers and their AHL affiliate, the Hartford Wolfpack. This combining with, hiring Chris Drury for the GM for the Hartford Wolfpack, I think that they're making some good moves. They're getting guys who are known to be students of the game, who have been leaders on teams. All these guys have been a captain of a team at some point. So I think this is a great pickup. These guys they're smart players. They know what they're looking at on the ice. They know what it takes to win. All these guys are winners. I know Chris Drury didn't win a cup. Did he win a cup? I don't know if he won a cup. I don't remember. But he might. I forgot. I think he played in Colorado. I don't remember if he was on.
Oh, yeah. He didn't win it with the Rangers.
No. But Leetch won with the Rangers. Richards won it with Tampa Bay. These are guys who are winners. So I like these hires. I'm not saying it's going to automatically make every Rangers prospect into a Stanley Cup caliber player, but I think that it allows these guys to learn from guys who knows what it takes to go all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when teams do this. When you bring back former players who are smart and they know what to look for on the ice, and we've gotten really fond of, and I've been accused of this just as much as the next guy, Moneyball, of statistics.
Moneyball.
But it's important to have players in player development who know the intricacies of the game. Every sport has its own intricacies, and it's important that you have people in positions to help develop players so that in certain situations, if they're making mistakes, they're not doing the right thing, if they're not in the right position, whatever, they have people there who can bring them along, can also report to the Rangers, God forbid they want to call someone up, oh, this guy's got great instincts, you have a need at left wing or center because so-and-so got hurt, here you go. This guy's ready.
Winning doesn't come out of nowhere. You got to get winners in the organization in order to get those guys to where they need to go.
Exactly. And by having former winners at the head of player development, I think that they're going to be much better off. I think this is a great move. And when John Tavares is there in a year, I think that they'll be very happy.
John Tavares, the Rangers, I'm making T-shirts.
Yeah.
I'm sending one to his house. If anyone has his address, please send it to me.
Yeah. He's also going to send a bag of feces every day until he signs with the Rangers.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get into a couple of ads and then Scumbag in Sports, which is actually a New York homegrown guy. But before we get into that, first off, Weight Loss by Pete, my service. So if you're looking to lose weight and you're tired of yo-yoing, feel free to go to my website and download a free report on the homepage. That's weightlossbypete.com. It reviews the 5 strategies I personally use to lose 100 pounds and keep them off. All you got to do is click the download button, put in your email, you're done. Evan is on HubSport, right? HubSports.com.
Hub pages. Just check. Keep your eye on our Facebook page. That's where the links will be posted. I will have a new article up tomorrow on a New York Rangers season preview and the top 5 players who need to make the biggest jumps so that the Rangers can be cup contenders this year.
And then also, I just started writing for 12up.com. Actually, for my first article, the senior editor wants me to do an internship. We'll see what that entails. But I wrote
like he wants you to jerk him off, Peter.
Well, I really hope not. There was a female in his picture, so no. But yeah, the article was about David Wright. Obviously, we talked about this ad nauseum. No, okay, enough. But it's about David Wright and whether or not he should retire. It's an interesting take because I don't fault the guy for trying, regardless of his rationale. Obviously, he stands to make about $50 million over the next 3 years. All he has to do is try to play and makes all the sense in the world. Granted, a lot of people are, oh, don't get greedy. He's made $150 million already in his career. Who gives a shit? If you have $50 million,
he only gets half of that because of taxes.
Okay, so he made $75 million in his career. Still a ton of money. But if you got another $50 million, athletes have very small windows. I talk about that in there. We back it up with some stats. It's fun. Go to 12up.com. Check it out. All right, Scumbag in Sports is
Carton from Boomer and Carton.
All right, and why is that, Evan? He was arrested by the FBI this morning, but let's tell the listeners why.
All right, so apparently Craig Carton is a big fan of Bernie Madoff because Craig Carton was arrested in a concert ticket Ponzi scheme. Apparently, he ripped off millions of dollars from investors by peddling bogus concert tickets in order to cover his own gambling debts. What a scumbag.
Jeez. He's not making enough doing that fucking show? That's like one of the premier sports talk shows in New York.
He's a gambling addict. He's first of all, a terrible gambler.
Obviously.
And with the amount of money he's making, he probably had to hide it from his wife so he couldn't take money. Oh, is he married? I don't even remember if he's married. Who gives a shit? This guy's a scumbag. He had to hide it from his family in order so they wouldn't find out he's a gambling addict. He's a piece of shit. Apparently, they ripped off at least $3.6 million from two investors, and Carton on his own ripped off $2 million from those same two people. So about $5.6 million from two people. And
you can bet they're going to sue for a lot more than that.
Oh, definitely. And apparently he claimed that he sometimes on his own and sometimes through his partner had access to millions of dollars worth of concert tickets at face value. Apparently this was a lie. He did not.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie. Yeah.
In addition to charges from the SEC, he's also being charged with wire and securities fraud in Manhattan federal court. So this guy is about to get bent over a barrel, and I hope he bought plenty of lube because that's going to be the long cock of the law going right up his ass.
Yes, please don't drop the soap carton. Please. 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 I have nothing else to say about that. That's just I don't understand people. I mean, first we're talking about woman beaters in Ezekiel Elliott, and now we're talking about a guy who's swindling people when I'm sure through his connections and the popularity of his show, he could have very well legitimately gotten these tickets and been able to actually do this business venture appropriately. But the fact that he conned people, and not just a little con where he could have paid them back, like, look, I'm a gambling addict, I'm going to rehab, here's your money, bye-bye. Instead,
bye-bye.
He's not doing that. He had to get caught by the fucking FBI and arrested. So obviously not a good news. Didn't reach out for help, and that's what happens. That's all I have to say.
They should just replace him with both of us and make the show better.
It would be a lot better.
All
right. So, guys.
Petition to replace Craig Carton.
Change.org, everyone. Change.org. All right. So, find us on social media, guys. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Big Apple Sports Podcast. Instagram, our handle is also Big Apple Sports Podcast. Twitter's fucked up, NY Big Apple Sport. Despite the Nazi statement yesterday, they did not put us down. Thank God. I'm sure.
I mean, if you want us to get banned, I can get us banned on Twitter. It's really
let's not do that yet. Eventually, when we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, and people will be outraged about it, then
when they're building statues to us in the street and have clothes like this.
Yes, with no underwear. All right.
Yes, of course no underwear. Why would I be wearing underwear? It's a ridiculous statement.
Who wears underwear? And also, guys, if you want us to include topics that we're not covering, there's something going on in the world of New York sports that you want us to cover that we're not covering, please feel free to email us at bigapple-sports-podcast@gmail.com, and we'll get that up. For that, I'm Pete Weintraub.
I'm Edwin Freeman.
And we'll talk to you guys next time. Have a good one.